All of the Real Talk interviews are now available in one place, categorised into topics. Some of them even have bonus downloads, so jump on over to our site and check them out. The link is in the description below. Welcome again to Suneil. You can see on the screen there.
Yeah, great to be here again.
Yeah. So look, it's been an interesting week for everybody out there in business. No doubt you've been quite busy with all of the wage subsidy stuff there, Suneil.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I've been. I've always service row files some on people's behalf for the more complex situations and give them some advice just in case they get audited. Then they've got some documentation in the background. But yeah, it's been pretty busy having a chat to people, and the rules obviously changing again, Nick. So
the changes and the confusion around it. Yeah, look, even yeah, there was. I guess I think the thing was that by the looks of it, the government's rushed us through as fast as possible to get it into the hands of people so that they're not running out of cash and can't pay their employees or
yeah, exactly right. And with the speediness comes a few mistakes, which is forgivable. And I'm not sure whether you've seen the Australian version of it, but to get the subsidy over in Australia, it's about 8 pages long, and you need to upload your last 3 years financial statements and a whole bunch of other things. And it's just it'll take a week or two to actually get that stuff through to the Australian government. So so even though that this might not be perfect and there's some mistakes and things keep getting changed, at least it's getting the cash out into people's hands.
Yeah, totally agree. And I got quite a few friends in Australia, and it really does seem like it's a complicated situation there. They've got a different strategy to New Zealand in terms of lockdown, and there's a lot of debate, one side versus the other, the economic side versus the health side, and it's I guess whatever your political favors are, or in New Zealand, I think right now that we are fortunate to have someone that's at least being decisive.
Yeah, exactly right.
Hey, so I think we kind of spoke about this earlier, just before we sort of get started. It's not about us trying to give you advice here, and it's not financial advice. Do you want to just expand on that for us, Suneil?
Yeah, sure. So each person's situation is going to be different, whether you're a company or a sole trader or a contractor or in a partnership or a trading trust or whatever. So we can't give you specific advice, and don't rely on this as advice directly to your situation or your company or your wage subsidy application. But it's more high level, and what we want to do is to give you a flavour of what the government's trying to do, and how to best protect yourself if an audit comes up, and how to pay your employees, that sort of stuff. So more high level advice as opposed to advice directly for your own company or your own situation.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the key with this is like, hey, we're going to give you, to the best of our knowledge, what we've managed to pick up from government websites, and obviously from your perspective as an auditor, and if we do get Lisa back, from a perspective as an accountant. So hopefully just give you a bit more armor so that you kind of know that you're doing the right thing. So I guess to recap, how it works essentially, look, you apply to the government, they're going to give you a 12-week subsidy to pay yourself, if you're self-employed, or your employees' wages. Do you want to expand that a little for us?
Yeah, I'll expand a little bit on it. So two types. One's for a what they classify as a full-time employee, which is if you work over 20 hours a week, or a part-time employee, which is under 20 hours a week. So the full-time is $585.80, and then per week, and then the part-time is $350 per week per employee there. So you just go onto the website and fill out the details, and that's effectively how it works. There's a bunch of stuff you need to do in the background to be able to document this, just in case an audit does happen. But that's effectively what you do. It can take 5 minutes for a two-person application, or it could take 20 minutes for a 30 person application, depending on how fast you type. But it's very, very fast, and the payout happens within 5 days in most cases. So as we said before, great to get the cash into people's hands.
Yeah, absolutely. It's look, from that perspective, I think they've done a great job. So kudos. Yeah. So and the question around how does someone qualify? short synopsis is you've got to be able to prove a 30% drop in earnings or revenue in your business due to COVID-19.
Correct. Yep, that's right. And you have to be employing people that they've widened the scope massively since what they had firstly. So 30% decline, that could be against last year if you've been trading for more than 1 year, or if you're a growth company or you've only been trading for 1 year, you just compare that to what a normal month might be, and that might be to February or January or something. And so you can actually compare against last month's revenue to see that 30% decline.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have active steps in actually mitigating the financial impact of COVID-19 on your business. And the government have expanded on that a little bit more. So they're saying initially they said talk to your Chamber of Commerce, talk to your membership body, which most people actually never do anyway. Most membership bodies are like useless in this country, and the Chamber of Commerce aren't much better, to be honest. But so talking to your bank and talking to your accountant or financial advisor, making sure that you've got some cash reserves, hopefully in your business. Stopping your marketing, stopping some of your entertainment. Obviously, you can't go out anymore anyway. But making sure that you're actually being financially prudent over this time in your business would classify as active steps.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And I think regardless of that dialogue with your bank, whether it's just a quick email through the bank mail or a phone call that you document on a phone on this date, it really is quite an important part of all of that, making sure that you've got things right.
Yeah, that's right. I'd send an email rather than have phone calls. I'll just to make sure I got that paper trail too.
It's probably going to be faster anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. or have an email or have a phone call and then follow up by email, just say here's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously you have to actually keep your staff as well over the 12-week period, and your intention is to pay them at least 80% of what you've been paying them prior. Or whatever their employment agreement contract actually says. And so that's not to say you have to pay them, but it's to make sure you do your best efforts to be able to pay them.
Yeah, so clarity on that is if they earn more than 585, the best intention for you as the business owner is to top it up to 80% of their pay. However, if your business cannot sustain topping it up to 80% of the pay, that would put you in a place of being insolvent or unable to meet your other obligations, then you must at a minimum pass on the entire 585 less any taxes and savers and those type of deductions.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so we just moved on to the paying employees point now. So that's good. In terms of paying 80%, you still actually need to document that up with your employee as well. So you can't just say I'm just paying you 80%. That's it now. So you have to effectively give them a document they sign saying yes, understand there's a big crisis on at the moment. I'm happy to take 80%. Just to keep myself employed. Otherwise, I know that I might get made redundant effectively. So make sure that you actually document that with your employees and having a written agreements with those employees.
I mean, I've been banging on about this all week. It's really a critical time that communication with all parties is just so critical, and that's things like this, when you have gone and taken the government's money, it's really important that you not just have the conversation, but actually document you have the conversation, so that for sure they're going to do audits, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a taxpayer, you should want them to do audits. I mean, you and I were talking before about people applying for this scheme that should never, or that either just don't know that they shouldn't be applying for, or they just willingly go out there and see free money and just take it. So and remember, it's not the government's money; it's taxpayer money. So me, you, everyone else who's listening to this call, it's actually our money. So I'd be very disappointed if the government doesn't do audits, and quite a lot of them, I'd say. I mean, it won't happen in the next couple of months. It'll be, 5, 6, 7 months down the track, but it will happen, and hopefully it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess should we discuss some of the changes that were announced just 27th or 28th?
Yeah, it was. Yep. So let's just have a chat through that. there was an announcement for a start that said if your employee, if their normal wage is actually below the subsidy you get paid, you have to pay them the subsidy. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why that was a bad call to make.
Right, someone who earns
So
$100 a week all of a sudden is going to get 300.
yeah, exactly. And then the ramifications of that are crazy. Imagine a student who works 3 jobs and is now on $1,050 per week for
Cha-ching.
for 10 hours. So it's not too bad. And it actually it would actually increase your leave accrual, especially for those employees. You obviously take an average of the last however many months. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but that would just push the leave accrual up. So a whole bunch of people, including myself, I went back to the government and said that this is it's a terrible idea. There's a whole bunch of things you haven't thought about. And Grant Robertson, to his credit, actually put out on his Facebook page saying, yeah, sorry, we mucked up here. Here's what we actually meant. Pay them their normal wage. And use the difference if you do get some more money. Use the difference to help your other employees. That the 585 might not actually cover their whole cost.
Yeah. And look, absolutely credit to them for going back and addressing that, because that was probably one of the biggest posts in this group last week, is the confusion around the wage subsidy. And we've started a thread, an individual thread just for that. And I will go back through to a clean up after today's chat, so that we keep it all in one place. So, yeah. And what other changes?
Yeah, some other changes. So the declaration that you're signing is a lot more comprehensive now. So there's a whole bunch more stuff in there, especially around how you communicate with your employees that you're actually applying for the subsidy. So there'd be a lot of people who or business owners who actually didn't actually communicate with their employees that they're actually going to give all their personal information to the Ministry of Social Development and whatnot. And people will say, oh, it doesn't matter because the government's got this information anyway with IRD. So IRD's got your information, but it doesn't actually matter because the IRD can't send that to another government department without your prior authorization under the Privacy Act. So there is actually
there is a form, right, that we've got.
There's a form, yeah, and we'll put that up on the website. I'm sure you will, Nick, on Facebook. But it's a privacy information for employees that you just print out or you send to your staff via email, so that they understand their rights.
Yeah, so we'll put that into the file section, and I'll also put a Google Drive link in. So it is really available. I'll also put a link to the government's website anyhow, so that that's just part of your documentation process you need to.
Yeah, sure. So they've provided a bit more guidance on casual employees. So remember, casual contracts differ, but effectively you can get rid of them if you want to. So you can still do that. But if you did want to keep them on and pay them, because just remember that the wage subsidy is about keeping employees on. So that's the main reason the wage subsidy exists. So if you did have the casual employees that weren't going to cost you any money, or you're happy just to pay them the 350 or the 585 just by itself, you may as well just keep them on and pay them that, because it's all about keeping people employed. So to work out whether the casual employee is a full-time or part-time person, the government has given some guidance on that. So you go back a year and have a look at the average hours that they've done over that year. If they're new people or they've been with you for under a year, you just go back as far as they've been with you for and just average those number of hours out per week as well.
So a lot of that, I guess a lot of that kind of does, keeping the employees is a great thing, but it does kind of assume that your business will be able to resume its normal or some sort of normal level of operation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's certainly something that you need to consider, I guess, whether or not going forward your business will be able to operate in the same capacity.
Yeah.
Particularly if we have an extended period of time at a level 2 or a level 3, would that be?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and if there's an extended period of time, obviously they've given the subsidy for 12 weeks, so they think it might be 3 months that you lose the income, the revenue effectively, and that they might actually push that out. If things start getting really bad, they actually might give another 12 weeks or 8 weeks or something. and that will get announced down the track a little bit, but that might happen as well. So be prepared to file again if they do announce that.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of depends on so many like global factors around global spread. Is there a vaccine? Is there a nobody knows what that looks like yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, so in terms of paying employees, I might just finish that one off if we don't mind quickly. So remember, if you pay your employees, just make sure that you're paying them at least that amount, unless their normal hours are below, or unless their contract is below that amount, and then top it up. So you can't automatically top it up with annual leave. You have to get their permission to be able to do that. So the government are saying you can't unlawfully compel people to take annual leave in this time. And also just remember that that if they are working from home, make sure
you must pay them for those hours.
Yeah. So we're seeing some stories of people who are I shouldn't really be laughing at this because it's not that funny, but people are making their employees work from home, say 30, 40 hours a week, and just paying them the 585 subsidy, which is it's absolutely horrendous. Yeah, it's that goes against everything that what the scheme is for.
Yeah, and the first one there too about the discussion that with the employees about the expectancy of what work that you want them to do, and making sure that they understand that they'll be paid for that. And then the thing about leave has come up quite a few times. So obviously, from an employer's perspective, that leave accrual is actually a liability on your balance sheet. So you do need to have a conversation with that person. You can't just say, I'm taking it out of your leave. You've got to have a conversation and a documentation process around that. And really, again, it comes back to our communication conversation from Friday, that it's important that your communication is there and that they understand that it's not just about you trying to get down your liability. However, it's more about you guys trying to preserve business so that post level 4, they've got a job to return to.
Yeah, exactly right, Nick. Yep, exactly right. There have been a few questions around how to code this in Xero or your accounting programs.
Yeah,
so I might just touch on that, briefly.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So because this this is non-GSTable or non-taxable income to your company, what I've recommended to people is they set up a new code and other income and their profit and loss, and name it COVID-19 wage subsidy payment.
Yep.
And then put no GST, because this payment is it's not GSTable obviously, but it's also non-taxable. And if you lump it in with a whole bunch of other income lines, then your accountant at the end of the year might not actually delve in there and have a look at it.
Might not see it. They'll assume it's taxable.
Yep, exactly right. So do that. Being prudent, you should always ask your accountant if they've taken this income out for tax purposes. If you're a sole trader or you are or you're filing your own tax return, just don't put that income in. Don't bother putting it in and taking it out. Just don't put it in for a start. So that's how I do it. Some people talk about maybe bringing it across each week from a liability into your profit and loss. I mean, the reality is you can do that if you want to.
Yeah, they don't need to go through a manual journal each week, however, right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a bit more work in there, and because it's non-taxable, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't bother, because it doesn't matter what tax year it falls in. It just
it's non-taxable, so it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was 2 questions that popped up that I think we could probably cover over. One of the questions there the question was, what if you're in the process of making someone redundant, but now you can't pay out their holiday pay? Can you use the wage subsidy for that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know the exact answer to that. So if we take it from a pragmatic and practical concept, that the whole point of the wage subsidy is to keep someone employed. Yeah, and so I'd need to look into that, but my guess is no, that you can't use that to pay out their holiday pay. That might be my guess, but interesting. We might actually take Les's comment on that.
I'm guessing that her other call must have gone through. So
Yeah.
just for everyone who's watching, Lisa is actually doing some stuff as an accounting advisor for a lot of businesses right now, and she had a call, an urgent call come through, so she's had to go and take that. Look, I guess, Lynn, that's probably not the crystal clear answer you're looking for, but obviously, that's probably one that you probably want to have a clear discussion with an accountant and make sure there's a good documentation process that goes in with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
And Vivi, is the subsidy payment taxable in this year, even though the payment should be for the following 12 weeks, which would be taxed? So next year. So I think if clarification needs to be around what type of tax. Yeah. I assume she's talking about PAYE.
Yeah, so the income coming into your company is non-taxable, so don't worry about that. So you just pay your employees as normal, and you pay the PAY and KiwiSaver and any other deductions out of that as normal. But in terms of which tax year it will be taxable in, that the income isn't actually taxable.
Right, so it'll
So
only be
yeah,
the pay run essentially. So if you pay weekly, fortnightly, monthly, however you do it,
yeah,
the idea is not to give your employee a lump sum less tax. It's to pay them out over a period of weeks to sustain their ability to live right now.
yeah, correct,
Yeah,
exactly
cool.
right.
And one last one was what happens to those two who no longer have employment? So um, presumably you worked for a business and now don't. Do you qualify for wage subsidy?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. That's the hard thing about the scheme is that it's aimed at businesses to keep people employed, and if you have been made redundant or you've lost your job because of this, unfortunately, that this scheme does not cover you. You'd have to go into your wind, or you'd have to phone Winds and go through another scheme with them, as opposed to this wage subsidy scheme. So and there might be some more stuff coming out from the finance minister about this in the
People in
next
that
couple of weeks.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so, because more and more people are getting made redundant. I mean, you mentioned to me today about a company that's laid off, almost 70 or
100
80
odd people,
staff.
yeah. 70
Yeah,
people, yeah.
and
It's
yeah, so I do think so. Winds will be inundated with unemployment job
but
seekers,
I
effectively,
imagine they'll
and
probably fast track a lot of that if they haven't already.
yeah, yeah, I'd say so too. So stay tuned for that. But unfortunately, the wage subsidy is just for employers to keep employees in a job, or if you're a sole trader or a contractor, to keep yourself in your own job.
Hey, so look, one last question before we close it off is there's a question by a friend of ours the other day that was asking for was asking about the shortfall for salaries, and yet he was overpaid for part-time staff, and it was suggested that he take the money and reallocate it to different levels. So, and that's what Grant Robinson said as well. If you have wage subsidy for a part-time employee that their wage is higher, then you can use the balance of that to top up your other employees.
Yeah,
Again, document it,
exactly right.
right?
Correct. Yep, exactly right. Yep. So just document that too, and I can't overestimate how important documentation is, because if there is an audit, as I said before, it'll be in 6 months at least down the track. Very very difficult to remember what's happened now and why you made these decisions now as well. I mean, it's all very well and good to say to an auditor, I was stressed and all this sort of stuff, and you are, and it's a very valid thing to say, but they're going to need to see evidence and documentation about you following these rules, because you have actually signed the declaration at the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember my first couple of years in business, man. I just had a shoebox. Right.
So sometimes they can be put to your favour, because an auditor will look at that and say no thanks. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
these days there's a lot more systems out there. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Hey, look, Suneil, mate, awesome again for your
cool,
sharing and the information, mate. Thank you so much. And yeah, well, look, we'll just kick on, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
great. Thanks, Nick. Talk soon.